Tonight, what Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro hopes will be a new fix for the transmission line carrying Muskrat Falls power.
Turnbuckles are out, extension straps and airflow spoilers are in. What's all this? Well, it's the latest attempt to ensure the reliability of the Labrador Island Link.
The items that we have found for this from this past winter are items that cannot be predicted or designed into the original designs.
Another $28 million for the Muskrat Falls project. That story coming up.
It's day 4 of a housing protest here on Confederation Hill.
They've tried to accommodate some of us into shelter rooms, but how many more months do we have to stay in shelters or in tents? How many times are they going to bounce us around?
I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
I was so excited to see them. My heart is filled.
After 11 long years, a family from the Philippines has been reunited here in St. John's. I'm Jeremy Eaton, and we literally sit down with them. Coming up on Here and Now.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro will spend $28 million to help make the Labrador Island Link more reliable. The plan involves swapping out some equipment that didn't hold up last winter and adding thousands of special devices to protect them from high winds. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
The Labrador Island Link was put to the test by some extreme weather last year, and it revealed some problems. And now Hydro plans to spend $28 million over the next 4 years to ensure the troubled 1,100-kilometer power line can reliably deliver Muskrat Falls electricity. It's the latest attempt to perfect a transmission line that's been plagued by software and hardware issues, with Hydro officials downplaying the findings of a series of investigations.
The results of the investigations today show that what we have found is normal for very early in operation of an asset of this size.
The link includes more than 3,200 steel towers. About 10% of them look like this, known as a dead-end tower, self-supporting. And this is called a turnbuckle, used to secure the power line to these larger towers. But during a series of storms last winter, 3 turnbuckles broke. Power lines dropped to the ground. This happened on towers in remote areas of the northern peninsula. It took many days to clear snow from an access road in order to carry out repairs. A turnbuckle in southern Labrador also failed. The incidents once again raised questions about the reliability of the link. After months of investigating, Hydro announced today it knows what happened. High winds caused the power lines to gallop. The turnbuckles are designed to hold up when the power lines become covered in ice. But no one anticipated the stress those bouncing lines would put on these hardened steel devices.
The items that we have found for this from this past winter are items that cannot be predicted or designed into the original design.
So Hydro will remove the turnbuckles, 1,300 of them on more than 300 towers. They will be replaced with a device called an extension strap, more robust, designed to move more freely when the lines gallop. That work began this summer.
We've got about a quarter of the work done as planned in the most difficult to reach locations. So that's really important to know that the hardest spots to get to are the places that we prioritized.
As for those galloping lines, workers are installing thousands of these in order to address the problem. Up to 20 on each span of wire in areas prone to high winds. They're called airflow spoilers, designed to disrupt the flow of high winds through the lines. In all, it's a $28 million fix, but the brass at Hydro believes it's the right move.
What we are seeing now is real-life application of certain climatic conditions that are affecting specific areas, and we are taking action and making changes in those narrow specific areas.
Meanwhile, Jennifer Williams says electricity users can feel at ease as winter approaches.
I'm very confident that the customers can rely on us for reliable service this winter.
Williams said it was impossible to predict the weather conditions for every kilometer of the link and denied the line was under-designed. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it is day 4 of the tent encampment on Confederation Hill with no resolution in sight as the Thanksgiving Day weekend begins. Newfoundland and Labrador Housing has offered the demonstrators shelter space, but protesters say they want permanent housing. Heather Gillis reports.
Penny Mutry has been staying in this tent since the housing protest began earlier this week. She has somewhere to stay right now, but that changes at the end of the week.
Between October the 15th to November the 1st, I'm right back into the same street dilemma where I've been for the last 18 months.
She says she's experienced bouts of homelessness over the last 10 years or so. She's been offered a bed in an emergency shelter, but as a recovering addict, she doesn't want to go.
To put some people like myself into these shelters where people are using around us, and it's so hard to stay sober. Never mind, we're already battling all these mental health issues and then our addictions on top. So to put us in next to people that are suffering these same problems, it's like putting a weight load on me.
Meanwhile, one woman in the shelter system says Newfoundland and Labrador Housing is trying to shuffle people around. Jamie Ryan is one of those people. She just had surgery and doesn't want to move.
They said they wanted to fill up the beds down at the Merchant Road. Due to now the Merchant Road, the way that they got it set up is 40 army cots in one room. Everyone's in one room. You leave at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're not allowed back into that shelter until 6 o'clock in the evening.
She says some shelter spaces are empty when people who need a roof over their head could use them.
I know right now of probably 4 shelter homes just like this one that are empty. And it should never be when you got people out there that's sleeping on the street, froze to death, getting soaking wet with the rain and everything else like that, just praying that they had a roof over their head.
NDP leader Jim Dinn says he too is hearing about people in the province's shelter system being shuffled around. He says he was supposed to have a meeting with the province's housing minister this afternoon, and he wanted to advocate for people who are living in tents here on Confederation Hill.
I would have a problem with moving people around like chess pieces on a board, especially if they're already vulnerable and experiencing homelessness.
But how many more months do we have to stay in shelters or in tents? How many times are they going to bounce us around?
Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
In an email, Jenny Bowering from the NL Housing Corporation says homeless people are prioritized for the NLHC's rental program. She says 377 people have secured housing through their programs over the last 2 years. Meantime, the provincial government has issued a request for proposals for a new shelter on the west coast of the island. The province has not yet publicly announced plans, but posted the RFP online yesterday. Proponents are asked to submit a plan for a minimum 30-bed low-barrier shelter in the Corner Brook area. The Housing Corporation says there were 34 people in shelter as of last month. It comes on the heels of a CBC News report last week on the growing number of individuals being housed in hotels and for-profit shelters. The province has spent over $5.2 million on for-profit emergency shelter in 1 year. NL Health Services has breached the privacy of 253 pediatric patients and their parents or guardians. In an email less than an hour ago, the health authorities said it did not blind copy those people on an email it sent, and that means everyone on the email could see the email addresses of everyone else. NL Health Services also said they are in the process of contacting everyone whose privacy was breached. Police have identified the human remains found in CBS as Anna Galton. The 79-year-old went missing in the Kelligrews area with her dog in early August. Police found her car near the old talc mine in CBS in September and discovered her remains on Tuesday. The RNC is still investigating how the woman died. Well, the PCs are pushing Andrew Furey's government to deal with worsening conditions at HMP. Inmates and guards have complained about a rodent infestation, extreme temperatures, and mold. In 2019, the province promised a replacement would be done in 2022. The PCs say government either needs to fix the current building or find a way to keep people out of it.
We also perhaps need to look at alternatives to incarceration, like utilizing electronic surveillance, ankle bracelets, like looking at community service or adult diversion, looking at addressing the mental health court and enhancing the role of the mental health court.
All the daytime highs up across Labrador today, very impressive for this time of year. You typically were sitting somewhere between 5 to about 8 degrees across the Big Land, but that's not the case today. 25 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay this afternoon, 22 in Churchill Falls, 23 in Makkovik, and reached about 24 degrees in Badger today as well. A number of records broken. That is no surprise at all. Just step out of the way here for you. Burgeo, Badger, Cape Race, Mary's Harbor, Cartwright, Goose Bay, Churchill Falls, Makkovik, Wabush, and Hopedale, all smashing records. And Goose Bay, Churchill Falls, and Makkovik, not only did you break your daytime record, but you broke your new monthly record as well. So 22.8 was the previous record, 25.8, like I said today. So some incredible warmth out there. The reason for that is where we've got a area of low pressure, lots of southerly flow, bringing those warm temperatures in. They're going to continue, and we'll get into that when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, back to electricity news now. A new report says a new diesel-fired power plant at Holyrood could cost NL Hydro $500 million. The corporation says a new thermal plant is one of the options it's considering to get more electricity on the grid. Hydro expects a spike in demand as more people switch to electric heating and cars. Patrick Butler reports.
The independent report outlines what a new combustion turbine should look like if Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro chooses to build one. Consulting firm Hatch says the plant should be located in Holyrood, the home of an existing heavily polluting generating station Hydro has been trying to close for years. The new plant will be powered by diesel, which Hatch says is the only fuel source available in reliable quantities. Even then, it says production should be limited to 150 megawatts because that might be all the diesel it can get. Hydro is looking at several ways to generate more electricity. Its projections show the province could face a shortfall by 2030. The Hatch report only studied scenarios where the new plant would function on an emergency basis or during peak times, but it also looked specifically at what Hydro calls a catastrophic level failure scenario, if the Muskrat Falls transmission system went down for up to 6 weeks. No decisions have been made on building the thermal plant, but early engineering work has begun, as it also has for a new generating unit at the Beta Spear Dam. Hydro is expected to present a formal expansion plan in the spring. Patrick Butler, CBC News, St. John's.
More criminal charges have been laid in New Brunswick against a former teacher from this province. Stephen Riley Blackwood faces 34 new charges, mostly involving voyeurism in the locker room of a pool in Dieppe. The charges also include sexual assault and sexual touching of a person under 16. Blackwood already faces charges from incidents in Fredericton, and before that, he worked as a substitute teacher in the Metro St. John's area. Central Newfoundland is losing another doctor. Dr. Sarah Clancy says she's done waiting for government to fix the healthcare system and she's closing her doors. Here Now's Troy Turner reports.
Dr. Sarah Clancy says she's mad at the provincial government. She says family physicians in the province have been denied their value. After 10 years of family practice, she'll be closing her doors in December.
And it may come down to some money things, but it's not really about money for me. It's about more support to do the things we should be doing. So that means that, I don't want to have to think about paying my overhead here month to month and that I need to be worrying about making that. I don't need to always do things that maybe a nurse can do, but I don't have a nurse that I can pay. But if they had some of these supports, we could certainly continue here.
Clancy says she didn't become a doctor to worry about her bottom line. And without support staff, the fee-for-service model is forcing her hand.
We are a private business when we are fee-for-service family physicians. So this office we're standing in right now, I pay a monthly overhead to cover this. None of that comes from the government. The only money that we get as family physicians from the government is when we see a patient or now talk to them on the phone, we get a rate. And so if I see 30 people in a day, I send 30 bills to the government.
She's not leaving Central Newfoundland or medicine, however. Instead, Clancy will go to work in the new health hub in Grand Falls, Windsor, set up by the province for people with no family doctor.
What you've done in turn by supporting this with a overhead covered, a nurse, an LPN, staffing, etc., and the ability to do shifts without being fully responsible for everybody there, is you've drawn people right out of longitudinal family practice where they were looking after their own 1,000 patients, and you've attracted them across the street, quite literally.
Clancy says she's not shutting the door completely on family medicine and would consider returning if the system changed. Troy Turner, CBC News, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Hey, I'm Tom Power. I'm the host of Q on CBC Radio. I gotta tell you, I'm used to asking the questions, but I'll be sitting down to answer some questions with my good friend Carolyn Stokes. You can catch that on Here and Now next week.
Well, the weekend looks warm for some areas. We're in for a bit of a cool down as we get into the beginning of next week, but I'll have all the details when I come back in a few minutes.
This weather update is brought to you by Steamatic Canada, the undisputed choice in restoration. Don't panic. Call Steamatic.
Ashley, I am still amazed by those record-breaking temperatures you were talking about earlier, especially in Labrador.
Yeah, it was an incredible day today. Now, yesterday was warm, broke some records yesterday as well across Labrador, but even warmer today. If you take a look at the 24-hour temperature change, it's another 4 degrees warmer in Happy Valley Goose Bay, but really starting to see that heat towards the southeast coast. 12 degrees warmer in Mary's Harbour, and then all on the plus side across the island as well. Now, temperatures taking their sweet time to warm up for the east. St. John's only reached about 14 degrees this afternoon, but we did see some 20-degree temperatures through parts of central, 24 degrees in Badger, 20 in the Wreck House area, 19 in Port aux Basques, and then up across Labrador. Yeah, nearly every single station in Labrador broke their temperature records for today. And like I said, things are going to change. You should typically be sitting between 5 and 9 degrees as your daytime highs this year. So certainly lots of warm air. We've got a lot of it all across the eastern portion of Canada at the moment. That area of low pressure to the north, and then an area of high pressure to the south, really allowing that southerly flow to move in and continue really as we head through at least tomorrow, and then things will start to cool down. Taking a look right now at what's happening, hanging on to that cloud cover on the northeast coast. That's why those temperatures were cooler through central. Lack of cloud cover, hence those warm temperatures, but we are going to see some cloud cover move back in as we head through the night tonight. Now, still a beautiful evening out there, 11 degrees in St. John's, but the warmth still through central, 18 in Gander, 19 in St. Lawrence, and still about 24 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay. So it's going to be a nice evening for the most part. We are starting to see, like I said, some of that cloud cover move further east tonight, and we'll continue to do so as we head through the overnight. If we take a look at the future tracker, best chance of seeing some showers will be in Lab West. Still looking at the chance of some scattered showers across the southeastern portion of Labrador, but definitely in that onshore flow along the strait. Drizzle, fog will continue for you. And we're looking at that pretty much along the northeast coast as well. We're still seeing that onshore flow in those easterly or southeasterly winds. So that's the best chance of seeing that, but we'll definitely see some fog patches overnight tonight through areas like central, the south coast, even the west coast of the island. But again, the best chance of drizzle is where your winds will blow onshore tonight. Temperatures mild up across Labrador, 12 to 14 degrees is your overnight low. Single digits for the north, though. And we're looking at that through central as well, as your skies will generally clear out. If you do see that, you'll see your temperatures dip. But overall, generally, you should be sitting somewhere between 10 to about 12 degrees as your overnight lows tonight. Now, tomorrow looks unsettled for at least the eastern half of the island, and then along the northeast coast. Those onshore winds are going to continue. So still looking at a chance of fog, patchy drizzle through at least the first half of the day, but a clearing trend for central, the west and the south coast. Labrador, you're looking generally at cloud cover. Best chance of showers again will be in the west, but towards the coast, you're still looking at some sunny periods through the afternoon. Can't rule out the chance of some patchy drizzle. And again, cloud cover along the strait as those winds still will be onshore for you. As we head into the evening, though, clouds will be back on the increase, at least to start your Sunday. But it does look like things will clear out on Sunday, however, cool down as well. Now, as far as temperatures are concerned tomorrow, we should still reach the low 20s, especially for the west coast. Where we're going to see that sunshine pretty much is where those temperatures should reach the 20s. Hanging on to the teens all along the coast. Onshore winds for that. We can thank onshore winds for that. Same thing for the Avalon, as the temperatures will likely hover around 15, maybe 16 degrees through the day. Now, as far as Labrador is concerned, you're looking at another potentially record-breaking day, especially towards the southeast. 24 degrees in Mary's Harbour, 23 predicted for Cartwright. And you'll see your winds, especially in the west, ramp up a little bit. Southerlies will be gusting somewhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, this will be the last of it for now. We are looking at a little bit of a change in the pattern. We're going to drop those temperatures still above seasonable, though. I'll get into the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, for a family in Shea Heights, this Thanksgiving will definitely be one to remember. Following more than a decade of trying and failing to get her 3 children from the Philippines to Canada, Mylene Badiola finally got her wish. Last month, her 2 oldest children landed in St. John's. It's the first time she's seen them in over 10 years. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton has their story.
Mylene Badiola live streams everything. Last month, it was a big moment, showing her family and friends a hug she's waited 11 years to give. Following a long journey from the Philippines, her 2 kids, Kate and Jello, are tired, but you can hear their mom's love when she touches her kids for the first time since 2012.
How do they look? That's the first thing that came to me, and my friends asked me, said, how are you going to feel when you see them in the airport? And I said, actually, I got no clue.
An overwhelmed Badiola's feelings clearly evident. She and her 2 oldest children reunited. Finally.
I was so excited to see them. And then I'm excited to see how they age. I can see them on the internet, but it's different when you see them actually.
If the scene and Badiola look familiar, it's because it is. About 18 months ago, the youngest of her 3 children landed in St. John's, a son she hadn't seen in nearly a decade. It's more than a dream come true for a woman who left her home and her family to find work and make a better life for them.
Finally, they were able to process my children from the Philippines to come to Canada. And that was 11 years, 11 years of waiting for my children. And it was, it's like a roller coaster. And it's very, very exciting, very, very, like I'm so speechless.
It's 11 years now. It's a new thing for me since 11 years we have no contact to each other, physical contact. Personally, it's just so, my heart is full. My heart is filled.
Your immigration is very, very strict on all the requirements.
It wasn't easy. When we first spoke with Badiola, she talked about struggling with immigration, lawyers, and confusing paperwork. A process she thought would take weeks quickly turned into months, then years, then 10 years. But she never lost hope, and she never gave up. She'd be the first person to tell you she didn't do it alone.
I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for those people who helped me throughout the years, non-stop. Some of them are strangers.
Her older kids, Kate, Jello, Jade, joined their Canadian-born siblings. It's a full house, but for the mom who worked tirelessly both at Tim Hortons and on the immigration process, it's her dream playing out in real life.
It's chaotic and it's fun. That's what I can say, because everyone has to share rooms together. Like the boys will gonna be on boys' room and girls gonna be on girls' room. And when it comes to the daily life, like everyone has to do their job. Someone has to do the dishes, someone has to cook, someone has to clean.
It's so noisy. It's very, very noisy. But then I enjoy the noise because these are my siblings. They're like grown-ups, and suddenly I have like little kids, so it's a balance. It's very noisy, but then I enjoy the noise, that kind of type.
This weekend, the large family will sit down for its first Canadian Thanksgiving together, even if the meal is something the newcomers are still trying to get their mouths around.
A large portion of food. I don't know how to fit everything in my mouth.
All 4 are now permanent residents of Canada, but they won't be sitting around for long. Mom has plans to get them into the workforce.
And then we started to get our SIN numbers. They already got their MCPs. They already got their bank account books. So we're all set up.
Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
Org.
There's a new exhibit on at the Rooms in St. John's, and it's all about what it takes to make a home here. 6 artists are sharing their experience as newcomers, the challenges that come with moving and feeling marginalized, and the importance of multiculturalism. We dropped by the Rooms for a look and a conversation with some of the artists.
This is an exhibition that looks at what it means to be a newcomer in this province, or be perceived as one in some cases. It brings together the work of 6 artists working in diverse mediums from different backgrounds, some of whom have been here for 20 years or so, to talk about their relationship with this community and the bumps and benefits along the way. This exhibition is part of an ongoing relationship that we have with the Association for New Canadians, and we worked with the guest curator, Rachel Gilbert, to tell the story, to tell her story, her version of the story in multiple ways. So multiple ways of creating, multiple backgrounds, multiple ways of seeing the world, multiple stories brought together in this space.
I hope people are looking at my painting, hope holding. Hopefully they can empathetic towards immigrant or new people moving into Newfoundland and Labrador, how they feel, how they can hold hope. However, we move on to just to keep continuing and live on this land here.
With this paint and failed fist bump, I'm just trying to show how different cultures that come together might have different understanding of what different symbols are. For example, predominant within white society is a concept of the handshake signifying an agreement or the end of a conversation, and understanding has been reached. And this isn't typically what happens with a lot of the Black society. With fist bumps, there's also that sort of agreement and understanding. And I found when I came here, there was a lot of situations where I go in for the fist bump and someone goes in with a handshake, and it just seems like an awkward thing. But under that is a bigger issue of a lack of harmony. It's very difficult for an immigrant to grow economically here. It's almost 3 times as difficult than the average Newfoundlander, even though Newfoundland, for all intents and purposes, wants immigrants to grow. So it's not, I find it's not a malicious intent, it's more of negligence. And that's why I use the fist bump, because although both parties want to come together, just out of their background of what they understand to be right, they fail.
Some students at Holy Heart of Mary School have learned a lot more about where their food comes from. As part of a grant from Farm to Cafeteria Canada, the students went jigging for cod in Petty Harbour and donated their catch to the Choices for Youth meal program. A few of the students spoke with the Signal host Adam Walsh about the experience.
All right, other highlights?
Yeah, I loved the fishing trip. Definitely. I love going outdoors, and I fish all the time with my family, so it was like really cool experience to get to show some of the other students, how it's done and how you can catch a cod and then change it into food and eat it all together.
So you've had experience with this. What's it like for other students to be around them, to see them experience it for the first time?
It was honestly eye-opening. I grew up, every summer going out and fishing in the boat with my father and all my family. So when we were out there and people didn't really know what to do and they didn't know how to jig it, I was like, what? How do you live in Newfoundland and you haven't gone fishing?
I was like 40 before, like I'd been unsuccessful at fly fishing as a child. All my relatives in the Glovertown area will attest to that. And then I did some like rod and reel fishing, but never cod jigging. And I was like 40 by the time I did it.
That's crazy. But it's good to see that people are like doing it now and getting to do those first experiences.
I did it with Fishing for Success, by the way, for
Awesome.
work. It was really good. They know what they're at when it comes to teaching, because I am sometimes unteachable.
Oh, definitely.
So there you go.
Sure.
Favorite part?
My favorite part was definitely the fishing trip. I loved the cod jigging. My first time cod jigging was last summer, I think. My dad grew up in Keels. I don't know if you know where that is. It's closer to Bonavista. And that was my first time doing it. He has a friend up there. And so,
Cool.
yeah. And so it was nice to do it again with all my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right? You're like to go with school and your friends and a teacher to do some of this learning. So
It was awesome to get to see our teachers not know how to fish too and get to teach them.
Oh, there we go. This is good. How was it for you, Ms. Windsor?
It was great. So this is the second year that we've done the Fishing for Success trip as part of our Farm to Cafeteria grant. And both years we had different experiences. Last year we couldn't fish because of Hurricane Fiona because the winds were too high. But this year, so it was excellent that we could actually fish this year. And Kimberly and Leo at Fishing for Success were so great and sort of all the activities that we did.
Tuesday on Here and Now, a lot of tech companies are launching in St. John's, but this one could really take off.
So there's a whole bunch of end users. I mean, it goes from military applications down to security, down to search and rescue for agriculture.
A different kind of drone, one that launches, flies, and lands with no pilot. Meet the inventor and the invention Tuesday on Here and Now.
Parts of the Atlantic Ocean have seen an unprecedented spike in temperatures this year. The reason? A marine heat wave in July and August. The CBC's Paul Withers explains.
If you thought the ocean seemed warmer this summer, well, you're right. Throughout eastern Canada, the Atlantic experienced what's known as a marine heat wave. These are periods of unusually warm temperatures in the ocean. It is defined as 5 or more consecutive days when surface waters are in the uppermost 10% of historical averages. Satellites have measured the sea surface in the Atlantic since 1982. This year they recorded levels never seen before along Canada's Atlantic continental shelf and Gulf of St. Lawrence. In September, Canada reported the Atlantic marine heat wave to the World Meteorological Organization, a United Nations agency that tracks extreme weather around the planet. The data was compiled by Peter Galbraith, a fisheries and oceans climate scientist based in Quebec.
But in terms of what we have reported, it's unprecedented. We just don't have anything close to that in our data record.
Galbraith averaged the temperatures from the Scotian Shelf, Gulf of St. Lawrence, the Newfoundland Shelf, and the Labrador Shelf. In July, temperatures were the warmest ever recorded, from 2 to 4 degrees above normal. Off Newfoundland's Flemish Cap, it was 6.7 degrees higher.
Anything over like 1 degree C is already off normal. So 6.5 degrees it's the largest single weekly anomaly for a fairly large area in the whole satellite record for our eastern Canadian waters. So I was surprised by the spatial extent of it. Usually, often part of the Atlantic zone is warm, but not all of it. And this was spreading across the whole zone. And often you'll see a peak. You know, the sea surface temperatures could be above normal and 1 week, and just a few weeks later be below normal, just with weather systems going through. So to have that at record levels over 3 whole weeks and then remaining really high for a fourth, it was actually my first time seeing that at the scale of the Atlantic zone for such a long time.
It's not just the Atlantic. Canada also reported an ongoing marine heat wave in British Columbia this summer. When it peaked in early August, the marine heat wave covered 90% of Canada's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone in the Pacific. So what does this mean for the ecosystem? Marine heat waves have been linked to devastating effects like algal blooms and coral bleaching. However, a paper published in the science journal Nature this summer contained some good news. It looked at data from scientific bottom trawl surveys in North America and Europe from 1993 to 2019, which included more than 200 marine heat waves. Bottom-dwelling fish were surprisingly resilient. In general, after a marine heat wave, populations returned to normal ranges. It was an encouraging result, but the authors say we need to put a lid on global warming. In the meantime, in Canada's Atlantic Ocean, the recent warming trend continues. 2021 broke records, and last year was the warmest ever, seeing highs throughout the water column. And this summer's marine heat wave was big enough that it may drive up the overall average temperature for 2023. Paul Withers, CBC News, Halifax.
From the environment to the economy, Canada added almost 64,000 jobs in September, many more than experts expected, but wages also soared last month, and that could mean another hike in interest rates. Quebec and BC led the surge in new jobs, but Alberta lost about 38,000. Most of the new jobs were part-time, something economists say could be tied to the ongoing influx of immigrants, while the jobless rate remains steady at 5.5% in September. Wages continued to climb, and that's led some to believe that the Bank of Canada could raise its key lending rate again before the end of the year. Well, as the Canadian government tries to cut carbon emissions, it's taking a hard look at concrete. The industry accounts for up to 8% of global emissions. Now, a factory in Drummondville, Quebec, is trying to be part of the solution. It's selling a cement-free, carbon-negative concrete. Rowan Kennedy explains.
For more than 50 years, Patio Drummond has used cement powder. It's an excellent way to bind water with rock, making concrete. But producing cement is one reason why construction pollutes so much. These blocks could be a solution. They're held together with the waste product from making steel instead of cement. In this curing chamber, CO2 is trapped inside the blocks.
And as we inject this CO2, the calcium carbonate forms, and that's what binds the concrete and make it hard.
An independent firm says carbocrete blocks are carbon negative over their life cycle. The company behind the technology says the carbon trapped inside offsets the CO2 released by making it, a greener alternative to concrete blocks made with cement.
Every ton of cement produced, there's a ton of CO2 produced, and so if you look at the entire worldwide production, you're looking at 8% of GHG, or about 4 gigatons.
Last week, Patio Drummond put carbocrete blocks on sale for the first time after years of testing and investing tens of millions of dollars into the equipment.
We use the same aggregates as we use in a regular block.
The distributor says they account for 1/10 of the cinder blocks it produces. Girardin says there's already demand, even though they sell for 30% more.
The test we've done shows that the longevity or the durability of the products is the same or even better than a standard block.
I don't think one product will revolutionize the industry.
This material science professor says carbocrete blocks are a step in the right direction.
In my opinion, there's no one single solution to solving our CO2 emission problem. So I really welcome any and all new technologies that can fill a niche.
These two curing chambers can make 2,400 carbocrete cinder blocks a day. Patio Drummond hopes to double that within a year. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Drummondville.
Well, it's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Happy 66th anniversary to Rita and Edgar Sevier of Lawrencetown. Congratulations to Karen and Howard Watts of Norris Point on their 57th anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Lyle and Lillian Lewis. They are marking 63 years of marriage. Congratulations to Tom and Maud Hewitt of Fogo Island. They've been married 53 years. Austin and Susie Parks of McIvers are celebrating their 71st anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Don and Winnie Piercy of Norman's Cove on their 54th anniversary. Wishing Warren and Marion Abbott from St. John's a happy 60th anniversary. Happy anniversary to Garfield and Honor Hounsel of Wareham. They've been married 71 years. Happy anniversary to Ron and Renora Perry. They are marking 55 years of marriage. Wishing Naaman and Doris Moland of Mount Pearl a very happy 68th anniversary. Happy anniversary to Wanda and Ivan Clevitt of Port aux Basques. They're celebrating 50 years together. Wishing Stuart and Claudia Barnes of CBS a happy 50th wedding anniversary. Walter and Barbara Stevens of Mainbrook are also celebrating 50 years of marriage. Congratulations to Ross and Christine Gillingham of Labrador City. It's their 54th anniversary. Wishing Irma and Sterling Freak from Appleton a happy 70th anniversary. Happy 64th anniversary to Matthew and Sarah Fudge of McCallum, now living in St. John's. And it's a golden anniversary for Calvin and Joan Morris from Port aux Basques. Happy 71st anniversary to Annie and Prescott Dinas in Mount Pearl. Happy anniversary to Betty and Derek Sullivan. They are celebrating 51 years of marriage. Happy anniversary to Joseph and Rebecca Brown. It's their 57th anniversary. Wishing Shirley and Don Boone from Bishop's Falls a happy 67th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Isabel and Wayne Taylor of Bonavista. Now to some birthdays. Happy 99th birthday to Nellie Murphy of Stephenville. Best wishes from family and friends. Happy 94th birthday to Cora Spencer from Port aux Basques. Blanche Masters is celebrating her 92nd birthday in Grand Bank. Happy 92nd birthday to Lillian Farrell of St. Albans, now living in St. John's. Birthday greetings going out to Annie Griffin of St. Kieran's, now in freshwater Placentia Bay, who's turning 96. Mary Hicks of Grand Falls, Windsor is celebrating her 95th birthday. Happy 90th birthday to Leo O'Rourke of Conception Bay South. Wishing Bernard Woodford of Herring Neck a happy 91st birthday. Happy 92nd birthday to Nettie Bursey of Lewis Port. Best wishes going out to Josephine Roach from Bay Roberts, who's turning 95. Happy 91st birthday to Ernest Power of Pointe-à-Mal, Port-au-Port. Wishing Percy Rideout of St. John's a happy 92nd birthday. Happy birthday to Abe Pittman from Deer Lake. He's also turning 92. And happy birthday to Leonie Hollett of Gander, who's celebrating her 101st birthday. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. And we're heading into the long weekend, Thanksgiving Day this weekend.
Yeah.
How is the weather looking?
It looks a bit unsettled for some of us. Some of us are also going to see some windy conditions. And the reason for that is post-tropical storm Philippe. Let's take a look at what's going on. So it is weakening as it heads north. Well, actually, it's just transitioning at this point. So we're going to see winds gusting somewhere between 90 to 100 kilometers per hour for parts of the Maritime provinces. That's where the majority of the effects will be. As you can see, some of that rain, as well as some heavy rain. We may see upwards of about 50 millimeters for Nova Scotia, parts of New Brunswick, and parts of PEI as well. But we're not really going to see too much of the way of effects from the post-tropical storm. We're just going to see some showers eventually as we head into the evening hours on Sunday for the extreme southwest portion of the province. So you're going to see some windy conditions as well in the Wreck House area, but that's about it through the day on Sunday. But like I said, those showers will move in. Now, temperatures are going to be much cooler than they have been for the last couple of days, especially across Labrador, down to 16 degrees in Lab City, with some of that shower activity expected for you as well. The rest of the Big Land looking at either cloudy, partly cloudy to cloudy skies through the afternoon. Some cooler temperatures in Nain, otherwise between 19 to 21 degrees. Along the strait anyway, you're still looking at some of those cooler temperatures. That's the story across the island as well. 12 to about 18 degrees will be the daytime highs, and we will likely see cloud to start for the east, but we should see a clearing trend as the day goes on. Now, as we head into Sunday evening and into Monday, generally looking at unsettled conditions, the chance of showers, especially for the southwest. Likely that onshore flow will return. So patchy drizzle, fog, that will be the story for those of you along the northeast coast. And Labrador, you're looking at some unsettled conditions as well in the way of showers through your Monday. Temperature-wise, again dropping down to about 11 to 14 degrees across the island. Cooler for Labrador as well, 14 to 16 degrees will be your daytime high on Monday. And Nain, you'll be hovering into the single digits. Now that, unfortunately, that onshore flow will continue. That means we'll likely see gray skies. The chance of drizzle and fog patches continue right into next week. And our daytime highs will sit somewhere between 13 to 14 degrees for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. Now, overnight lows getting a little warmer, only by about 2 or 3 degrees, but we're looking at about 10 to 11 for your overnight lows. Now, for central Newfoundland, again, unsettled periods of rain possible for Tuesday. A little warmer, though, 16 to 17 degrees is your daytime highs. That'll be the story for western Newfoundland as well. You may see a few peeks of sun on Tuesday, but for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures going right back down. Now, still above seasonable, like well above seasonable, but they are going to head down. And for western Labrador, you're looking at some showers through Tuesday. But Wednesday, we should see the return of some sunshine and a daytime high around 11 degrees. Now, it was a frosty morning, apparently in Sandyville. This is a sunrise shot. Wesley shared that shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, we'd love to see them. You can send them to my Facebook page, but the best place is nlphotos@cbc.ca. You can send me an email there.
Oh, that's a great shot. Beautiful, beautiful sunrise.
Nice and
Maybe
calm.
some like Thanksgiving Day pictures people could send us next week.
Pumpkin carving,
or
all that sort of
something
stuff.
fall themed, you know?
Would be nice.
What are you going to be doing for Thanksgiving Day?
Just turkey. I can't wait.
Do you make anything special, like any kind of special little side dishes or anything?
Just dessert, I guess.
Yeah.
I know. What do you make?
I like to do like a little
Sweet
sweet potato
potato.
thing. Yeah.
It's yummy. It's very yummy.
Well, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.